Okay, so when you read financing questions, you need to understand there's 3 strategies. Which one do I do? So you have, is it a simple interest? That's option 1. Is it a compound interest? Or is it something where money is coming in or out regularly? Those are your 3 options, and that one is your calculator app, right? Okay, so Kevin has $3,500 to invest. He wants his principal to grow to that in 4 years. So what simple interest rate will allow him to meet his goal? As soon as I read it, which of the 3 strategies? Simple interest. So I'm going to instantly write I equals PRT. Okay? I just read simple, so I just do that before I even start crunching numbers. Okay. When you work with interest, you have 3 components, and I would write this on my cheat sheet. You have 3 components. If you ever want to find interest, then interest is your final minus your principal, right? What you have at the end minus what you start with is your interest. So I would write something on my cheat sheet to make sure I always remember that. Or I could move this around. You could say final equals principal plus interest. Okay? So if you want something like that on your cheat sheet, that's what I would do. Okay, so he started with this and he ended up with that. So what do I replace with interest? Thinking about this stuff that we just wrote on our cheat sheet. How much interest was there? You started at 3,500 and now you're at 4,200. How much did you gain in interest? What is that? $700. Principal, so that's 3,500. R is what we're trying to figure out, and 4 is the time. I probably would want to write this on my cheat sheet maybe as well. Time is always in years. So what if I ever told you how much interest you make in something like 9 months? What would you do to 9 months? You don't enter 9 into the equation? So if you ever had something in months, you would need to convert it like that, right? Okay, so anything you want to write on your cheat sheet with that, make sure you write some tidbits for yourself. Okay, so my calculator, I'm going to do 700 divided by 3,500 times 4. I have to be careful in my calculator. This will come out wrong. If I type it like this, what's the thing I need to add? I need brackets. So if I type it into my calculator, I would need to put brackets. Or you could have multiplied those and then got a number first. So that is the rate. Okay, I hope that you have some realism when you're doing these questions. Does my answer make sense, right? It does. If I had typed it wrong, so this is somebody who forgot to put brackets on there, they got 0.8. Do you realize that percent would be what? 80. Is 80% interest rate realistic in life? No. Okay, so always just stop. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Okay, number 2. Wayne has 20 grand. He wants to invest and he wants to end up with 3,500 to make a down payment. He has an opportunity to invest 4.5% paid annually. How long will it take? So, 3 strategies. Is it simple, compound, or the app? Simple. As soon as I read simple interest, I'm immediately writing I equals PRT down. As soon as I read simple interest, just write that formula down. Then go back and plug in things. Okay, so now interest. How much interest do I need? I want it to end up with 3,500 and I'm starting at 20 grand or 35,000. 20 grand to 35 grand is 15,000 of interest, right? Because I had that on my cheat sheet, so I remembered to do that. $20,000 is the principal. Please be careful with your percent moving decimals. Make sure you do it accurately. This is where I see most of the common mistakes, is just moving the decimal one not enough. So time is what we're solving for. And this is the same setup as last time. Okay, so same algebraic stuff. Okay, what if I actually wanted to make you answer in how many years, comma, months? Let's do that instead. I'm going to challenge you a little bit more. So this would be 16 years, and how do I convert that to months? So what I'm going to do on my calculator is I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to just minus the 16 because I've already considered the 16. And then I'm going to take that and do what with it? Going to times it by 12. 8 months. Okay, a bank is offering simple interest rate. Boom, simple interest rate. I just read it. I don't even read the rest of it. I know I'm just starting with this formula. Okay, we have the percent. We have 4-year. What principal would you need to invest if you wanted to have 15,000 at the end of the term? So what principal would you have to invest? Okay, this one's a little bit tricky. The 15,000 is not what we want there. We want to have 15,000 at the end. So that's not interest. What is interest? Interest equals final minus principal, right? So the interest I'm going to write as 15,000 minus the principal. Okay, let's make that one term. So 4 times 0.0185. What do you do in algebra? I have something with a p here and something with a p there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put them together. Would you be okay if I added 1p and added 1p? Does that make sense for you as an algebraic strategy? Okay, and then divide. And hope your answer makes sense, right? That's what it's all about. Does my answer make sense? Okay, so algebra, that wasn't terribly challenging as steps are concerned, but let's pretend you got there and completely got stuck and couldn't think of the algebraic maneuvers. What else can you do in applied that you couldn't do in pre-calc? Yeah, you could just put this into y1 and this into y2 as you see it and then get the intersection, okay? But that would take a lot of time, okay? So you don't really want to do that if you don't have to, but it's another thing you have always as a tool. Okay, principal, $2,000 invested, 5.9, simple interest. As soon as I read it, I equals PRT. What is the rate of return? So we invested 2,000, 5.9% for 3 years. So that one is just straight typing. So that's how much interest I earned. Okay, rate of return. You have a formula on your formula sheet. I don't know. Everybody have their formula sheet out? Okay, so this is on your formula sheet. Current value minus previous value divided by previous value times 100. Okay, that's on your formula sheet. For me, that formula complicates it more than it needs to, so I would probably write this on my cheat sheet. So rate of return equals the money made divided by the money put in. That's what I'm always thinking about. And then you always have to write it as a percent. The money you made divided by the money you put in. The money you make is your interest. The money you made is always your interest. So if you want to have some kind of note for yourself, your interest is the money that you make, and how much money did you have to put in on your own. I keep referring to it as out of pocket, right? Out of pocket money. Whatever you're taking out of your pocket is the money you've been putting in. Okay, so I made $354. And what did I have to put into it as an investment? I put in $2,000. So you always have to do this as a percent. So 17.7% return. Okay, there's obviously going to be a rate of return question somewhere on your exam, so just making sure, write down whatever you want for there, because you would have this provided, but if you don't like that formula, write yourself some kind of word formula. Okay, determine the difference in interest. Who earned the most interest? So these two people are both investing the same, $6,000, 6 years, 6%. This one is simple and this one is compound. Who should make more money without us actually doing it? The simple or the compound? Compound will make more money. Okay? Here's another question for you. Who makes more money? Somebody who compounds once a year or somebody who compounds 12 times a year? 12 times a year. You make more money. The more often you compound, the more money you make. Okay, so we're going to have the first person is simple. The second person is getting a compounded rate. Okay, those are all on your formula sheet. So the simple interest is just 6,000 times 0.06 times 6. Okay, the second person's 6,000, 1 plus 0.06 divided by, so it's paid annually, so just divided by 1 each year for 6 years. Okay, do you notice that these formulas are completely different in the way that with the simple interest formula, it works to find you interest. This formula works to find you the final. So they don't find you the same thing. This formula is always finding you interest, and this one's always finding the final. So if this is our final, what did we write down on our cheat sheet? The interest is final minus the start. So we guessed correctly. The person that compounds is making more interest, right? How many many compounding periods are there for $75 invested for 10 years, 5.2 compounded semi-annually? How many compounding periods? What does that even mean? How many times altogether? So all I want is, what is the exponent? That's actually all I want. How many times do you compound if you do it for 10 years semi-annually? If you do something for 10 years semi-annually, how many times does it end up altogether?
20.
That's the answer. That's all I was looking for, is just 20. Would that question have thrown you off because there's a bunch of other stuff? Probably. Okay, just compounding. Okay, Tran wants a sound system. He has 1,000, but that's only half of what he needs, so he needs to get to 2,000, right? When can he buy a sound system if he invests his money 3.7 compounded quarterly to the nearest year? Compounded quarterly. So I'm going to start with the formula. Okay, so the A is the final number. So what money do I want to end up with? 2,000. Principal, I started at $1,000. Okay, how do we solve this equation? You're in applied, you're going to do it one way. My pre-calcers have to do it in a whole different way. Why? What's the deal? The variable is in the exponent position. Do you know how to solve something like that? Nope. So what can I do with an equation if I want to solve it because I'm in applied? What should I do? Put that into my y1 and put that into my y2. Pre-calcers, you would have to use logarithmic equations to solve that, right? Okay. Think about what you're going to put your window at. By the way, if you don't put to the 4x in brackets, it will do it wrong. To the 4x brackets. Okay, or someone might just put x there and then just make sure they divide it by 4 when they're all done, whatever, but you have to have that. Okay, so the y-axis is our money. So I better go to like 2,500, something past 2,000, right? And the x is the years. So whatever you think the years might be. I don't know. I have mine at 30 right now. So there's your 2,000 goal, and here's your investment. Your investment is climbing up, 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 right? Because compound interest curves up, up, up. So when did you hit your goal? Calculate. Remember how to do that? Second, calculate, intersection, enter, enter, enter. 18.8 years. On your exam, most often you're going to be doing 2 decimal places, so let's just practice that. I'm going to practice 2 decimal places. Bless you. Okay, so that was my strategy. That's what I did. Estimate how long it would take for 1,000 to grow to 2,000 with an interest rate of 3% compounded monthly. Then determine the actual time. Estimate how long means to do what? And maybe we should write this on our cheat sheet. Anybody know which strategy? It's actually on your formula sheet. The rule of 72. So what do we want to write on our cheat sheet? Use the rule of 72 to estimate the doubling time. So maybe you want to write that memo for yourself on your cheat sheet. Use the rule of 72 to estimate the double time. How long does it take to double money is what that is all about. When you use this formula, did you notice that it has an I, which means interest, which is just 3? So your variables, I is 3. If you ever were to use R, that would be 0.03. So interest is just 3. Okay, the I, it's just like in your app, right? So 72 divided by 3, not 0.03. So don't be confused with that. So 24 years it's going to take you to double your money. Sometimes, did you notice questions that I put on your tests were, if this person started with $1,000, how old are they going to be when they get 8 grand? Could you figure that out? How old would they be when they get to 8,000? So, took them 24 years to get to 2,000. It would take another 24 years to reach what money? 4,000, and then another 24 years, you would be at 8,000. Okay, so remember that strategy? I think we kind of drew a chart. Okay, let's determine the actual time. So let's do this one more time. So this is your compound formula. I started with 1,000. It's compounded monthly, and I want to turn it into 2,000. Same idea, Y1, Y2. When does the interest reach 2,000? Okay, and you should see it somewhere around 24, right? Because we just estimated. So you have most of that in your calculator, so just go in there and change a few things. calculate intersection 23.13 years. Okay, pausing to say what else do we need on our cheat sheet here? Okay, so we did this chart idea when we wanted to double our money, double our money, double our money. So another 24 years, I'd have 16,000 and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, Barbara has invested $7,000 every 6 months. Uh-oh, when I read that line, I already know what strategy I'm doing. If you invest some money every 6 months, what are we doing? We have, remember, there's always 3 strategies: simple, compound, or the app. We need to do the app, right? Because we're putting money in, occurring money. So as soon as you have money that goes in. So we do the app. So I may as well start by writing down all of my app things. Okay, so Barbara invests $7,000 every 6 months. Okay, so ready? I'm going to go to the payment, and I'm going to not write 7,000. What am I going to write? What am I going to type in? It's not 7,000. I'm going to type negative 7,000 because it's money that's coming out of my pocket. Every 6 months this is happening. How many payments a year will you do? You put the money into the bank every 6 months you go to the bank. How many times will you end up doing that each year? Twice a year. Compounded monthly. So CY will be 12, compounded monthly. The interest is 4.7. We started with nothing. We're going to figure out the future. And what do I do for the N again? Does anybody remember that one? Payments times years. So if we do this twice a year, for 15 years. Twice a year for 15 years. Okay, go for it. Solve. Okay, this is not the answer though. We wanted interest. That's not how much interest you made, that's how much you have at the end. Okay, so we have to kind of change our formula here. I know that before we had interest equals final minus principal. Instead of the principal, I'm going to change it to the money that you put in. Because we don't just start with money, we keep putting money in. So, how much money have we put into this thing? It's not 7,000. What are we going to do to figure it out? We put 7,000 in a bunch of times, right? So how much money did we do? 7,000 times 30. So the final minus what we put in the final amount that we had minus what we will put in from our pocket. Okay. Alfonso deposited the same amount of money every 6 months for 4.5 years. As soon as I read that line, because I'm saying the same amount of money is every 6 months, that's a reoccurring. So, boom, the strategy is app. Okay, I'm not even going to finish writing. I already know which of my 3 financing strategies do I have. Okay, so Alfonso is depositing some money. So that's actually a question mark on the payment. Some money. Oh, every 6 months, I guess. This is the same as last time. Something that's every 6 months means it will happen twice a year. For 4.5 years. So N is 2 times 4.5 or 9. .9%. Compounded semi-annually. How many compounds a year? 2. Ended up with 12,000. We started at 0. We didn't start with anything. So what is our payment? Are we matching when you're done? Okay. So pretend you go to the bank in July and December. That's, you go in July and you pay that. You go in December and then you pay that. Okay, we're buying a house. Okay, I already know this is going to be an app question. Obviously, with buying a house, you're making some kind of reoccurring payment, right? So we're going to go app. Okay, so the house was $375, but we put a down payment on there. So how much money did you put on your house on the first day? 12, what can you do 12% of? I'm going to have to pay $45,000 on day 1. So that means, what is my mortgage? How much do a mortgage is now how much do you have to go into the bank and ask for? So you're going to take that off. Okay, so we paid $45,000 of our own, so now we still need to borrow $330,000. So that is my starting. That's my previous value. That's how much money I need to borrow. Okay, we're going to make regular monthly payments. So let's go, payments a year is 12. 12 payments a year. We're going to do this for 25 years. So the N will be 12 times 25. We got 2.8 compounded semi-annually. So the payments is what we're figuring out. And what is the future value of our mortgage with the bank? 0. We're trying to pay off. Okay, so get me the payment out of that. Okay, again, this whole time you're always thinking, does my answer make sense? Somebody on a test wrote me $30,000, $40,000 as a monthly mortgage payment, okay? Unless you're obviously a millionaire with a mansion, not realistic. Okay, how much did the house cost and how much interest? So what are we gonna do? Everything that came out of our pocket. So we paid the payment 12 times 25 times. And we can't forget, we also paid that 45 grand, right? So do you know how to put that on your home screen? Because I will deduct marks if you round it. So do we remember this feature? You go on your home screen, apps, financing, and then over to the VARs. And then you can copy and paste it and enter it. So there, I copied it. For me, I always just quickly times it by -1 because I don't like that it's negative on there. Times 12 and 25. And then I'm going to add the 45,000 yet. Okay, so the copy and paste. Okay, so there's my two answers of what did I pay altogether, and then I minused what the original cost should have been, and that gives me my interest.